Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my stepdad financially after my mom passed, even though I'm well off? This is hard to write, but here goes. I, 34 female, lost my mom about a year ago. She had cancer, and watching her go through that was one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. I loved her more than anything, and I still can't wrap my head around the fact she's gone. The grief has been unreal. Growing up, it was just me and her, until I was 13 when she married my stepdad, Frank. From the start, Frank made it clear he didn't want anything to do with me. He wasn't outright abusive, but the man made my life hell in other ways. He treated me like I was an unwanted guest in my own home. He didn't want to hear me, see me, or be bothered by me in any way. He never spoke to me unless it was to give me orders. Once I hit 14, he pretty much turned me into the household maid. I had to clean everything, do all the cooking, take care of the yard, run errands, you name it. He'd sit in his chair, watch TV, and treat me like his own personal servant. If I didn't do things fast enough or to his liking, he'd criticize me. Say things like, "You're so useless. No wonder your dad left." Yeah, real nice, right? My mom always defended him, saying he worked hard and just tired. I loved her, but I'll never understand why she let him treat me like that. I moved out the second I turned 18 and barely looked back. Over the years, I've had next to no relationship with Frank. I only ever saw him because of my mom. Fast forward to a year ago when my mom passed, and now Frank's in serious financial trouble. Apparently, he didn't plan for anything, and they were barely scraping by. Now he's blowing up my phone, saying that since I'm doing well, I work in marketing and have done pretty well for myself, I should help him out with bills. He keeps talking about how I'm family and my mom would want me to take care of him. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I flat out told him no. I don't feel like I owe him anything. He made my life a nightmare and is only talking to me now because he wants something. I was nothing but an inconvenience to him growing up, and now he suddenly expects me to be the dutiful daughter and bail him out? I don't think so. But now he's calling me selfish and saying I'm dishonoring my mom's memory by abandoning him like this. I feel like he's trying to manipulate me, but then again, maybe I'm being too cold-hearted. He was married to my mom for 20 years, and I know she loved him. She would probably want me to help him, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Every time I think about giving him money, I get this anger inside me thinking about how he treated me when I was a kid. So am I the a-hole for refusing to help out my stepdad financially, even though I can afford to? Or am I being justified in cutting him off after everything he put me through? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are not obligated to help someone who mistreated you, even if they were married to your mom. Agreed. Frank treated Opie terribly growing up, and now he's only reaching out because he's desperate. You were not obligated to help someone who actively made your life miserable. Thank you. I was a servant a long time ago. Those times are gone. Don't even entertain this guy in his whinging. He made it clear you're not family to him, so take him at his word and block his number. She would probably want me to help him, but I just can't bring myself to do it. If that were the case, your mother should have had him treat you much better. I'm very sorry for the loss of your mother, but no, you are not the a-hole here. Basically, he brought this on himself by his negative behavior. Not the a-hole. This sounds like her mom made excuses for his awful behavior and didn't protect Opie. Not the a-hole. Block him and move on. I don't want to bash a deceased person, but her mom did not do well by her. I can't help but feel if she even did anything even minor for him, he'd show no damn appreciation toward her, and he probably would feel even more entitled. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my sister's kids to school after they've been bullying my son? A bit of background. My sister Sarah and her 2 kids, Jake 14 male and Mia 12 female, recently moved in with us after Sarah went through a rough divorce. She's been staying with us for about 6 months now, and we've tried to be as accommodating as possible. My wife Laura and I have 1 son, Ethan 13 male. At first, everything was fine, and the kids got along okay. Over the last few months, however, Jake and Mia have been making Ethan's life miserable. They've been teasing him constantly. calling him names and even going through his things when we're not around. It's been especially bad for Ethan because he's more introverted and quiet. He's come to us multiple times, upset about things they've said or done, and I've tried addressing it with Sarah. Her response has been pretty dismissive. It's just normal sibling stuff. They'll grow out of it. The tipping point came last week when Ethan told me that Jake had taken a school project, something he'd spent days working on, and ruined it by drawing all over it. Ethan was in tears. When I confronted Jake, he laughed it off like it was a joke. Sarah didn't seem to think it was a big deal and said Ethan was being too sensitive. Laura was furious but tried to stay calm. I finally had enough and told Sarah that if she couldn't keep her kids in check, I wasn't going to keep doing favors, like driving them to school every day. I've been taking all the kids to school since Sarah moved in because her car broke down and she hasn't been able to get it fixed. It's about a 20-minute detour for me, and I was happy to do it at first. But after all of this, I told her it was too much, and she needed to figure it out on her own. Now Sarah's upset, saying I'm punishing her and her kids over something small, and it's not fair for me to leave her stranded. She even went as far as to say I was being petty and holding a grudge against the kids. She thinks I'm overreacting and should just let it go for the sake of family harmony. My wife is 100% on my side and thinks Sarah's kids have been out of line for months. But now Sarah's giving me the cold shoulder and telling other family members that I'm being unreasonable. So am I the a-hole for refusing to drive them to school anymore? Overall, not the a-hole, but you only stated that you wouldn't drive them to school? Why the hell haven't you kicked them out? They are bullying your son. By ruining his school project, they're messing with his grades. What if that project is the difference between a pass and a fail? They are bullying him in his own home. Kick them out. And anyone who tells you you're being horrible and unfair, ask them when are they taking her in then. You're right. I think it is about time someone else takes them on as their burden. I've been doing this for long enough now, and she doesn't even seem as though she's trying hard to fix her situation. Why would she try? She's living, I assume, rent-free or at least reduced? You didn't say whether she's helping out financially at all. If she's not, why would she want to give up a free space to live with someone who is willing to ferry her kids around? Does she pay gas? I would have kicked her out too just to protect my son. This is crazy. OP's son is being bullied at home and OP needs to do something. I kind of want to go OP is the a-hole, but not for refusing to drive the kids to school, but for not kicking out the abusive kids and the sister. I think you're the a-hole because you're imposing a penalty that doesn't do anything and doesn't mean anything. Refusing to drive her kids while they still live in the house is going to amp up hostilities. You need to tell Sarah that she has 1 week to get out. The end. You're right. I'm going to have to clear her out ASAP. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not changing the name chosen for my son because my sister who struggled to have a child wants it for hers? I'm 26 female due in a couple of weeks with my first baby, a boy. And I already know when he'll be born because I have a C-section scheduled for medical reasons. So this is set in stone. We chose to name him after my husband's dad who died when he was a baby. This was something very important to him and therefore was important to me. This was decided early in my pregnancy but didn't get announced until my baby shower some weeks ago. We only let people know then because some wanted to personalize their gifts to us or add additional gifts with the name. My oldest sister, 36 female, is due late December/early January. This is also her first child after 12 years of infertility and struggling to conceive. Our middle sister, 34 female, was the first to have kids and has 5 now. She's also done having kids. For my oldest sister, watching our middle sister have kids so easily really hurt her. And I know their relationship struggled because my middle sister joked that she would carry a baby for my oldest sister and her husband, and she didn't say it as a joke at first. It was really hurtful to her. So there's some family tension there. I was disgusted by what our middle sister did too. They were always closest since they were only 2 years apart. I was never very close to either because of the bigger age gap. My oldest sister and I grew closer with our pregnancies, and she had told me she had a boy named picked out, but not a girl one yet because they had changed their mind about the girl's name they'd chosen. She asked if she could tell me when they decided on a girl name. I said of course. They found out they were having a boy a few days before my shower, but she decided to wait to tell me the name until after because she didn't want to take the focus off me. But then my son's name was announced, and it was the same name as the one they had chosen. She asked me afterward if we could find another name. She said she really wants her son to have his own special name, and they've had this name chosen for 10 years. I told her this is my late father-in-law's name and means so much to my husband. She told me she really doesn't want the cousins sharing a name. I said it could be worse. She left in tears and she went quiet for a while. But after a couple of weeks, she asked me again to please consider another name. I let my husband know what was going on, and we worked out something to say together. And then I communicated that we would not change the name. When she pushed, I pointed out my son would be born first, so it wasn't me stealing the name. She made it very clear how hurt she is, and how she feels like both me and our middle sister failed to understand all she's been through and lack compassion for her. I feel awful. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Cousins can have the same name. I assume they'll have different middle names and different last names. You can use first name, middle name, or first name, last name to distinguish them if they're together and you need to call to one of them. But realistically, how often will that happen? Or Sally's Ethan and Janny's Ethan if relatives are discussing the cousins. It's not that hard. Yes, different middle names for sure, and different last names. You're not the a-hole. Don't spend another minute worrying about it. Use the name you and your husband love and carefully chose. Info. How is offering to be a surrogate mother hurtful? But not the a-hole. Nobody owns a name, and cousins with the same name just happens. She will have to deal with it. It was a joke. She said it so it sounded serious. Got our oldest sister looking hopeful and then admitted it was a joke and she wouldn't do it. Oh, that is horrible. Yes, she did not sound like she was joking either. Had us all believing her, to then really show how little empathy she had. She was laughing it off too, like it was nothing. Last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my niece, or her parents, pay me back for the hundreds of dollars of perfume she stole from me? Note, I'm not involving the police, suing anyone, etc. Please don't try to argue with me about this or convince me why I should. I have a perfume collection that I started when I was a teenager slinging burritos as my first job. I have over 400 bottles at this point. I take great pride in my collection and I use it. I'm also happy to give people decants, samples, of most of my bottles. Let them sample a spray or two, give some bottles as gifts, etc. What I have a huge freaking issue with is my 17-year-old niece coming into my home under the guise of walking my dog, decanting bottles on her own, and selling the samples to her little friends. She thinks that because I have so many bottles, I wouldn't notice some missing or getting massive dents in them. Well, little Miss Entrepreneur failed to realize that our private Instagram wasn't friends only or whatever. And I saw each and every freaking story with each prize and sample she had. I tallied everything up and got a pretty good estimate based on cost per ounce. Thankfully, she mostly picked the TikTok famous perfumes and didn't go for the most rare niche perfumes. She did snatch an entire 2.5-ounce bottle of a certain brand though, which runs $300+ at most retailers, as well as full bottles of perfumes you can get at Sephora. Petty or not, I printed out the entire list of what she'd taken, price estimate, and handed it off to my sister, her mom. I said that I expect to be paid back, in full. And of course, her freaking sneaky little butt is never allowed in my home again. My sister got super pissy with me, going on about how my niece is just a kid. Kids make mistakes, etc. I said yes, kids make mistakes, and this is a great way for my niece to learn from hers. Their argument is that now the money she was going to use for a car has to go towards paying me back. I don't care. She is lucky that I have no interest in involving the police, small claims, or any of that. But am I the a-hole? Because she is a teenager. She's just a kid who created a successful business enterprise selling stolen property. Not the a-hole. This is part of what bugs me. If she had come to me and asked me if she could sell a handful of her friends some samples, I might have entertained the idea. I know getting samples for niche perfumes is a hassle. But nope, she screwed herself out of that one. This is a great way to learn. You are so right. This is a character-building core memory if she has consequences, not the a-hole by any measure. Next person might not let her off so easily. She has to learn the lesson now so it sticks. She might get juvie, community service, and Maid to pay, and it won't permanently affect her future. She gets away with this and pulls a similar stunt with someone else in a year or so, and she might end up in jail and with a record. You should be cruel to be kind. Not the a-hole. I can see from the fact that her mom considers a 17-year-old just a kid, as if she were a 5-year-old who stole a cookie before dinner, has caused her to act very entitled. She made a series of decisions to steal from you and profit from it. And she's either just a kid when she's stealing pricey scents, or she's an almost adult saving up for a car. Can't have it both ways on your dime. You'll be teaching her a better lesson than her mom bothered to. This teen is lucky the lesson only involves having to pay back what she stole instead of having charges pressed. OP's being nicer about this than a lot of people would. 17 is way too old to excuse stealing. If she tries this in less than a year with the wrong person, she will end up with a criminal record for the rest of her adult life. Info: since you didn't remove the physical bottles from your property, is it not considered theft? Is that why you won't involve the court or the law? No, she did take several full bottles. But it's not about that. It's about the consequences for other members of my family who have done nothing wrong. Info: what consequences would there be for other family members, and why? Life-altering consequences. I'm not comfortable sharing more than that. The negative outweighs the positive here. That makes zero sense. She stole, so she should face consequences. Or are you more concerned with the embarrassment? Or family being embarrassed?